Well, hi, and welcome to Radical Intimacy. I am David Steele. I am founder of Relationship Coaching Institute, and with me today is my lovely, gorgeous, beautiful, fabulous wife, Darlene Steele. Say hello, Darlene.
Hello.
And I'm the primary presenter today, and Darlene is much more comfortable with me doing the teaching because this is kind of my profession, and I'm very used to it. And she is going to chime in and support all of us. So that's her role that she enjoys. And we have a radical relationship, so that makes it okay. So let's go ahead and get started. On the webinar page, you will see the slide. So next slide, you see the Radical Marriage book that we just published in October. And Darlene is the co-author, and I really could not have written this book all by myself, even though I'm a relationship expert. I've been in the relationship profession for over 30 years. This book has a lot of learnings in it that came from our relationship and what we learned together. And so we are excited to share that with you today, a piece of it about radical intimacy. So here is a cool point about intimacy. Intimacy is exciting. And if you have a boring relationship, it means that you are just not being intimate enough. And all the couples where one of them is complaining, well, they're not in love anymore, or, you know, they fell out of love, or they feel disconnected, or they're bored, it's really because the intimacy is lacking. It's such a key piece. And so that's why we're doing this webinar today. So the dictionary defines intimacy as a close, familiar, usually affectionate, loving, personal relationship with another person. And that's not quite adequate for a couple relationship. So for a couple relationship, we define intimacy as sharing your private thoughts and feelings, wants and needs in a close, emotional, and physical relationship. So that's normally what intimacy is all about. Radical intimacy means sharing your private thoughts, feelings, wants, and needs in a close emotional and physical relationship even further than regular intimacy or normal intimacy. What you're really pushing the envelope. Your goal is to be transparent, is to share everything so that your partner experiences all of you. There's nothing they don't know about you. They know every thought, every feeling, all of your experience. And that can be hard to do. It takes a lot of communication, takes a lot of connection. It takes a lot of time. You know, to have a great relationship does require a commitment of time together. So radical intimacy holds nothing back. And when you think about it, we have secrets. We have fears. We have desires. And we have fantasies. And this is part of the human experience. It's normal. It goes on inside us anyway. And in radical intimacy, we share our secrets, our desires, our fears, our fantasies with our partner. We don't hold anything back. And that creates a very, very close emotional, physical, and spiritual relationship. It is just wonderful if you can achieve that. And so on this slide, the whole area of fears is, we have fears, and you can be the most, self-confident, secure person in the world, and you're going to have fears of some kind. And sharing them with your partner is a way of bringing them out and getting support for them so that they don't have power over you. If you have a fear and you don't talk about it, you don't allow it to come out, then it tends to have power over you, and it tends to run your life. It tends to run underneath the surface all the time. We have secrets, and maybe, they're not necessarily diabolical secrets, but, the things that we, don't tell everybody. They're not things that we would want to put out there on social media, on Facebook. They're things that we wouldn't want to tell, anybody else in our life, but we would want the closest person in our life to know. And that anything you hold back, if you have a secret that you're holding back, then you are creating an obstacle to intimacy. it really does seem to be 100% or nothing. That if you are not sharing everything 100% with your partner, then it creates a barrier. And fantasies, I mean, this is fun. This is cool. Some fantasies are like dreams, and or a vision of what you want for your life or what you want to have happen. And other fantasies are just, like sexual fantasies or fantasies of getting away from it all or fantasies of flying to the moon. Our mind just goes places, and if we are going to allow our partner to share our experience with us, we are going to share our fantasies with them as well, because it happens anyway. It's part of who we are. And then our desires.
Coaching is...
Now, all of these, fears, secrets, fantasies, and desires, are energy. We experience them as energy. We have energy for them. And when you have a desire, that means you have energy for something. And you can do two things with that energy. You can block it, or you can follow it. And we tend to be happy and fulfilled when we go where our energy wants to go, when we are able to follow it. And we tend to become unhappy and depressed and anxious, and maybe not that extreme, but it can be if we are holding our desires back. If we are not allowing ourselves to be who we are and who we want to be and going where our energy wants to go. Now, it doesn't mean that if you have a desire that is illegal or against your values or against the relationship, it doesn't mean that you do everything that you desire. What it does mean is you go where your energy wants to go. You explore it, and you explore it with your partner. That is very, very, very important. So, radical intimacy is not like jumping in the deep end of the pool. It's not like, you do it immediately and it's all out there. It is something that you kind of do gradually over time. It's more like, peeling an onion, layer after layer after layer until you get to that kernel, you get to that core truth. There's nothing else there. It is very, very gradual. Don't expect to do it all at once. Don't try to do it all at once. It is kind of scary once you start doing it and you start sharing your, deepest, darkest secrets that you've never shared with anybody, including your partner. So, do this gradually. So we have 10 strategies of radical intimacy for you today. And the question really is, how high, far, and deep do you want to go? You can use one or all of these strategies to go as high, far, and deep as you want to. It is really, really up to you. One of the things about intimacy is it can be very, very scary. And so we do recommend that if you feel fear, that's not an automatic reason to stop. And radical marriage and radical intimacy does mean that you take a risk. You keep on going. You feel the fear and you do it anyway. But you don't have to push yourself beyond, what you're able to do. So, be forgiving of yourself, be forgiving of your partner. We're human. Even though we want to have a radical marriage, we're not going to get there today or tomorrow. It's a process. So let's get started. 10 strategies of radical intimacy. Strategy number 1 is create safety for yourself. Identify and communicate and protect your own boundaries. That is how you create safety for yourself. It's hard to be intimate with someone and allow yourself to be close to someone if you don't feel safe. And safety starts with you. Yeah, there might be reasons outside of you that you feel unsafe or could be more safe, but it starts inside of you. It starts with identifying, communicating, and protecting your own boundaries. You have boundaries, things that are okay for you and not okay for you, and we need to know what they are, and we need to communicate them. It really does start inside you. We need to be assertive. And that doesn't mean be aggressive. It doesn't mean yell at people. It just means speak up and tell our truth. And it helps to be proactive as well as reactive. So reactive assertiveness is if your boundary is being crossed and something doesn't work for you, you say something. But being proactive does mean that you will take care of your boundaries before they are crossed. You know, if there's an example in the Radical Marriage book about if you go to a restaurant and you like a quiet table, you don't like to be sat near the kitchen because it's so loud and clanging dishes and everything. So you will ask the hostess, you know, we'd like a quiet table. Can we be sat away from the kitchen? That's an example of proactive assertiveness. You're taking care of your needs before, you know, there is a violation of them of some kind. So both proactive and reactive assertiveness are important for creating safety for yourself. And so we have some action steps for you. We call them radical action. This is a strategy for how you can create safety for yourself. So a suggestion: identify and request one behavior you want from your partner that would help you feel safe to share your deepest needs and desires. What do you need from your partner? What would support you to feel even safer to share your deepest needs and desires? And radical action number 2, and you can write these down if you want. You don't really need to. Their replay will be available after the program. And by the way, not all of these are in the Radical Marriage book. Some are, but we have come up with some new stuff for you, and we're sharing them with you today. So you might want to take notes. Who knows? That's up to you. Radical action number 2 is next time you catch yourself tolerating something that bugs you, make a conscious effort to speak up and make a request about it. And we do this all the time. We become aware that something bugs us, and we don't say anything about it. We avoid dealing with it and say, oh, maybe it'll go away, or I don't want to create a stink, or I don't want to start an argument. So next time you catch yourself tolerating something that bugs you, holding back from doing or saying anything about it, make a conscious effort to speak up and make a request about it. And that is how you can create safety for yourself. Number 3 is watch how often you hold back from telling your truth about your needs and change that pattern. Ideally, you would tell your truth always, especially with your partner, the one that loves you most, the one that you have the closest relationship with, the one that you want to experience radical intimacy with. But even with your partner, watch how often you hold back from telling your truth about your needs and change that pattern. So that is strategy number 1, create safety for yourself. So, Darlene, any comment? And you want to add anything to strategy number 1, creating safety? Yeah, we got to take you off mute.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, nope, I think you covered it all.
Okay, so let's move on to strategy number 2, which is create safety for your partner. A big way of creating safety for your partner is accepting your partner for who they are, 100%. You married this person. You chose them. You are in a committed relationship with them. And trying to change them and not accepting them fully for who they are is only going to create stress for you and for them. And you have a choice. You can accept or not accept. And there might be things that you wish were different. But do you really want to live your life resisting what is, resisting accepting your partner? You can have a radical marriage and experience radical intimacy by accepting them 100% for who they are. For some couples, this is really, really, really hard, but it is absolutely possible and necessary for a radical marriage. The harder it is, chances are the more important it is to do it. You can own your reactions and judgments to create safety for your partner. When you think about it, your reactions, what's going on inside you, your judgments, what you think, what you feel, what you judge, that is all about you. That is all inside you. And you can take responsibility for it. You can own them. It's not necessarily about your partner. And if you can really get that and own that, then that is a big step towards creating safety for your partner. When we blame our partner for how we feel, when we hold our partner responsible for making us feel a certain way, positive or negative, then that the relationship becomes unsafe. So, our suggestion, radical action number 1, is check in with your partner about how emotionally safe and accepted they feel with you. Ask them straight out. Honey, how emotionally safe do you feel with me? Do you feel safe to just tell me anything and know that I accept you 100% for who you are? And listen with compassion and without defensiveness as to what they tell you, and you might be surprised. Radical action number 2 for creating safety for your partner is initiate a conversation with your partner about what would help them feel safe and share their deepest needs and desires with you. Again, what would help them feel safe with you? So we're creating safety for ourselves, we're creating safety for our partner as a foundation for radical intimacy. Strategy number 3 is continually take risk. And if it's scary, you're doing it right. And intimacy is exciting. And the more intimate you become, the more you tell your truth and your secrets and your fantasies and desires and your needs and your thoughts and your feelings and everything inside you. The closer you become, the more connected you are. But it's also scary, and so it takes a risk. You just think about, what have you been holding back? What have you not told your partner? That thought going around in your head, or that need or desire that you have, that you've been censoring, that you've been holding back. Saying it, expressing it to your partner feels like a huge risk. It's really, really hard to do. But in a radical marriage and experiencing radical intimacy, you would do it anyway. You would take that leap and do it. And it really is the way to build a radical marriage. It's really, I just wish that I could communicate, if you haven't experienced it before, what it's like to be fully accepted and loved for who you are. And that when you take a risk with your partner, rather than judging you, that it is safe, and they appreciate it, and you become even closer. That's my wish for you, and you absolutely can have that kind of relationship. You can start off taking small risk and then build up to bigger ones. So it's okay to, test the waters and experiment with your partner and see if they can handle, the smaller ones before you build up to the bigger ones. I want you to think, like, right now, there's something that you have not expressed to your partner, a fear, a desire, a fantasy, a need. There's something inside you that you have not expressed to your partner. And I want you to resolve to share that with your partner soon. Maybe you need to build up to it. Maybe you need to take smaller risks first. Maybe that feels like too big a risk to start off with. That's okay. But resolve to share that thing that you're holding back with your partner soon. Don't wait until the time is right. I guarantee you, if you put it off until it feels like the time is right, it will never happen. So the thing about relationships and connection and your experience of your relationship is it's always in the now. And so what's most important is for you to show up in your relationship right now. Don't wait until the time is right to tell your truth, to make a request, to have a radical marriage, to experience radical intimacy. Do not wait until the time is right. Take that risk and do it now, always. and catch yourself holding back and staying safe. Because I tell you, I guarantee you, you will. You will hold back. You will stay safe. And it is human nature. And so what we're doing is we're actually pushing against human nature. But human nature is the status quo. Human nature is comfort. If we stay in comfort, we will never have an exciting life. We will never be wildly successful. We will never have the relationship that we really, really want if we stay in our comfort zone. So radical marriage and radical intimacy is about getting outside your comfort zone, pushing yourself just a little bit every day. And if you catch yourself holding back and staying safe, and you will, then you just need to push that a little bit. And share everything, no matter how trivial or embarrassing. I can't tell you how many couples I've talked to where one partner was not sharing something with the other partner because they didn't think it was a big deal, or they didn't think it was important. It doesn't matter how trivial you think it is. If it's part of your experience, if it's part of your reality, then you need to share it. Not just some things, not just the things that you think are important or that you think your partner should know, but everything. That is radical intimacy. And that is a requirement for radical marriage. So, a radical action. What can you do? Next time you catch yourself having a thought, a feeling, a need, a fantasy, or a desire, and not sharing it with your partner, make a conscious effort to share it anyway. And number 2, radical action, identify and share an emotional need that you've never disclosed before. Because you weren't aware of it, maybe. Maybe you didn't think it was important, or maybe you didn't think it was realistic, or you were embarrassed to talk about it. You think about it, you are with the person in the world that loves you the most, that wants you to be happy, that you guys are joined at the hip. You are going through life together. And if it's, you might not want to embarrass yourself in front of the whole wide world, but you need to take a risk and embarrass yourself in front of your partner. And really, your partner loves you for who they are, for who you are, and they're not going to judge you. That's what makes a radical marriage. And so really there is no embarrassment. We end up doing it to ourselves. Okay, we tell ourselves, I'm so embarrassed. I feel embarrassed. We're doing it to ourselves. It's not necessarily our partner doing it to us. So take that risk and go ahead and identify and share an emotional need that you've never, ever shared with your partner before. Give it a try. You might be amazed. And here is a cool thought. After you've taken the easy risk, all that's left are the hard ones. And, this is the way it works. And this is gradually peeling the onion and stepping in, gradually. That's okay. Go ahead and take the easy risk. But then what happens is you run out of easy risk. And then the ones that's left, they feel really hard. It feels like you're jumping off a cliff, into nothingness, like in the graphic here. And so that is how you live your life and your relationship as an adventure. That's what makes it exciting. And that's, why radical marriage is worthwhile. Because we can take risks that feel really hard, and we end up being successful and happier and more fulfilled and more connected than we were before. Remember, if we stay on our comfort zone, we stay safe, we will not experience the connection and the relationship and the life that we really want. So, sweetheart, any comment about risk-taking?
Well, the one thing that I was thinking was, it is true that once you've taken the easy risks, and what's left is the hard ones. But as you grow your relationship, your radical relationship, you can handle the harder things, right? When you have a normal relationship, it's you can't handle really tough things because you haven't built up the intimacy that you need to really be able to tackle the tough stuff. And then the tough stuff's not quite as tough as it would be without.
Yep, absolutely. And, this is something that you build up to. It's not something you do on the first date. It's not even something you do when you're first married. But this is the very cool thing about a committed relationship is you're not going anywhere. And you can build up this intimacy and this risk-taking over time. That is the beauty and the value of a committed relationship. You're not going anywhere. You can go deeper and farther in a committed relationship than you can in an uncommitted relationship where, either partner might be out the door at any time. That's one of the big differences. Strategy number 4 for radical intimacy, rituals. This is one of my favorites. Actually, I'll speak for Darlene and I. This is one of our favorites. We have so many rituals, they would make your head spin if we tried to tell you what they all were. So rituals are routines in your relationship. They are things that happen every time. It is a routine for something. It is a habit. You don't even think about it and talk about it. You just do it. But there are two kinds of rituals. There are the kinds of rituals that just kind of happen automatically. You kind of fell into it. But there's also the kind of rituals that you talk about, and you can actually design rituals of various kinds. And it's very, very cool. So let's talk about it. It's one of my favorites. So with rituals, you both know when, where, and how they're going to happen. You really don't need to talk about it. You just do it, and they can be consciously created. And so, what kinds of rituals? Talking about rituals for connection, rituals for sex, rituals for money, paying bills, rituals around making dinner or cleaning up after dinner. Just think of all the things that go on in the day, in your day with your partner, and there is a potential for creating rituals that create closeness and connection in everything. So Darlene and I have, let's take dinner. We have rituals around the making of the dinner and the eating of the dinner and the cleaning up after the dinner and the doing the dishes after the dinner, and then what happens when the dishes are done, and we take our vitamins, and then when we're done with that, then we walk down the hallway hand in hand, and then we put on our cuddle clothes, and we get out of our jeans, and now we're ready to relax for the evening. We do this every night. We don't talk about it. We do it, and it is something we haven't talked about. We haven't really talked about or planned any of those things, but there are rituals that are very cool to design rituals for connection and staying connected, design rituals around sex and physical connection, design rituals around spirituality and experiencing spirituality together. So, radical action around rituals. If you haven't already, create a daily check-in ritual to share about your day and your experience. So, what happened during your day, that happened outside of you. And then your experience is what happened inside of you. So what happens in a check-in ritual is often, you'll come home from work, and then you might check in with each other and see how each other's doing and share about your day. And typically you will talk about what happened. Well, we want you to go a little further than that and talk about your experience of what happened. And, how did you feel? How was your day, on the inside for you? What was the best part of your day? What was the hardest part of your day? Share your internal experience of your day as well as the events of the day. And if you haven't already, create a daily check-in ritual to do that. Most couples do this, but I tell you, I am really surprised how often I talk to couples that don't do this. like, huh? I mean, how can you live together and not check in about your day? It's like living parallel lives. And you can go, days and weeks without even knowing what's going on with your partner or what happens to them during the day. So in our mind, this is a daily ritual. Now, it can be challenging when you have kids or when you're busy or you have different opposite schedules. So if it's not easy and automatic, then it is something you need to plan for and design. So how, it might be challenging, but it's not impossible. You make it happen. This is, the foundational ritual in a committed relationship. So find a way to make it happen. Get creative. So radical action number 2 around rituals is co-create one new daily connection ritual that would deepen and enhance your ongoing intimacy. A connection ritual is something that you do so that you're feeling connected with each other. And you are intentionally, stopping everything. You're not doing anything else, and you're spending time together just to connect. It's not to play a game or to watch TV or to do a chore. It's just to connect. And it really can start with the daily check-in ritual, but then, there's so many other things that you can do. You can share appreciations. That is a really, foundational strategy for, increasing the positive energy in a relationship. What do you appreciate about your partner right now? And, share that back and forth. There's just so many things you could do to create connection. So design a ritual in which you create connection in the way that is pleasing to you, fun for you, that helps you connect with your partner, that is easy or that you want to do it. It's not just something that you feel like you have to do or, oh, man, do we have to? It's not a chore. It's not something you're doing for, because it's good for you. It's something that you want to do. You look forward to it. You can't wait to get home and check in with your partner and do your connection ritual. So what would that be? Get creative. And the thing about connection rituals is you really can't have too many of them, and you really can't have too much connection. The problem in a relationship is that we're busy. We have a lot of things going on, and we get disconnected too often. So connection rituals are necessary and important, and the more the merrier to help you restore that connection and stay connected. Radical intimacy strategy number 5, text messaging. So what does that mean? It is a form of writing. Now, text messaging, we're talking about digital, like, texting on your phone, or writing a note, or typing an email. It's, whatever works for you. But the act of writing is a very, very intimate activity. And you are taking a moment out, you are thinking about your partner, and you are expressing something from inside you to them. That is a very, very intimate activity. And it's a very different activity from talking. And so it is great to switch it up and to vary talking to your partner and doing things with your partner to writing things to your partner, because you can really, dig into your internal experience and your truth and your thoughts and your feelings and your wants and your needs, and express things in writing that you might not when you talk. So we would encourage you, let's go to the next point, share your most intimate thoughts and feelings spontaneously as they occur to you. The cool thing about, most of us have our cell phones with us all the time. We can text those thoughts to our partner, spontaneously as they occur. So that's kind of a cool thing. And they can be on paper, electronic, or both. And one strategy for doing this is there are apps. Most of us have smartphones nowadays. There are apps that provide a secure text messaging platform between two people. And there are two that we're familiar with that have actually downloaded and tried. One is called Couple, and the other is called WeSync. And it's like having a hotline to your partner. You open up that app, and the text message goes just to your partner, nobody else. And it's password protected, and nobody else can see it. And it really is like having a hotline to your partner. It's very, very, very cool. Strategy number 2 for text messaging is at least once per day, send your partner a message by text, email, or voicemail about something you'd like to share or talk about during your check-in or connection ritual. So this lets your partner know that you're thinking about them, and as it occurs to you, think about when you get together and you check in or you have a connection ritual. What do you want to talk about? What do you want to do? What thought do you have? And so this is sort of building anticipation. Say, hey, I'm thinking about you, and you know what? I want to talk about, going away together, later when we get together. So at least once per day, send your partner a message by text, email, or voicemail about something you'd like to share or talk about during your check-in or connection ritual. It lets them know you're thinking about them and is creating closeness during the day when you're apart. And when you do get together, you will have built anticipation for your check-in or connection ritual. It's very, very cool. Radical intimacy strategy number 6. Tell your whole truth. There's the onion metaphor again. Your truth is more than you are consciously aware of. And there is a very interesting phenomenon that if you do share what you are consciously aware of, then the next layer of the onion comes off, and you become in touch with the truth underneath that. And so you can expand a sentence into a paragraph that way. You have a sentence that is your initial truth. You share that. You think about it. You dig down a little bit deeper, and there is more there to share about that. And so that sentence becomes a paragraph. And then you keep, after you've shared that, then you check in with yourself, you dig a little deeper, and then, my gosh, there's even more there. And then your paragraphs expand into pages. So telling your whole truth requires a bit of patience, a bit of time, being present with your partner, and you're sharing who you are. You're sharing what's inside you. You're not just going to, tell them your truth real quickly and move off onto something else. You're going to stay present and stay connected. And this is the gold in a relationship, that you can have a much deeper experience of yourself, experience of life, experience of your relationship and your partner, experience of fulfillment and love and everything that you want by staying present in your truth and taking the time to share this with your partner. So tell your whole truth. Make it a goal to, talk with your partner and continue talking to your partner until it's all out. So, a strategy for doing this. Radical strategy number 1. During your connection ritual, take the time to dig deep and expand your sharing. So here's some questions that might help you do that. What does this mean to you? Where does this come from? What's it like having it or not having it? Whatever it is, whatever the need or desire is, fantasy or desire. Why is this coming up now? So you can share more about what's going on for you. So these are some questions to help you get started. Radical strategy number 2 is, while your partner is sharing their truth with you, support them to tell their whole truth by asking them these questions. Is there more? What else can you share with me about this? What does this mean to you? Where does this come from? What's it like having this or not having this? Meaning a fantasy or desire or a need. Why is this coming up now? Help your partner share their truth by asking them these questions. Radical intimacy strategy number 7. Reinforce your commitment. Now, commitment is chapter 2 of the Radical Marriage book. And radical commitment, it really is the foundation of marriage, of committed relationships. And radical commitment is taking regular commitment, much farther than that. And that is going to be a future program, and it's in the book. But the thing about reinforcing your commitment, you are already committed, right? And this reminds me of the classic stereotypical, husband who responds to his wife who complains, well, you never say you love me. And his response is, well, you should know. I'm here, aren't I? You should know I love you. Well, we all need to hear it. We all need that reassurance. We all need our partner to show up for us. And, just having the fact there is, it's okay, but, it's not quite enough. So we all need reassurance. Remind yourself and your partner that you're not going anywhere. And, maybe you are very, very secure in your relationship. Maybe you're very, very secure as a person. You don't need reassurance. But to have a radical marriage and to experience radical intimacy, we will demonstrate our commitment. We will speak to our commitment. We will not take commitment for granted. And it is the kind of thing where, maybe this is a bit too much of the therapist in me, but, we have an inner child, right? And all of us have, some fears and some stuff. I call it stuff, from our childhood. And, we spend the rest of our adult life, dealing with our stuff and healing our stuff and growing from our stuff and evolving from our stuff. But, we got our stuff. And in a loving, secure, committed relationship, we support each other to feel secure, to feel loved. And so reinforcing your commitment and reassuring that you're not going anywhere is just part of, taking care of the inner child and acknowledging that, we all got stuff. I want you to feel good. I want you to feel loved and secure.
Well, I don't think it's just the inner child. I don't think that we all need reassurance. I think that part of it is just celebrating that we're committed.
Yeah.
I mean, really just being in awe of the fact that, there's how many billions of people on the planet, and we're here together, and we're taking the journey together.
Yeah. And it is the opposite of taking your commitment and your partner for granted.
Right.
Acknowledging and celebrating your commitment. Taking something for granted means that, eventually it'll atrophy and shrivel up and die, because it really does need watering and nurturing and attention to grow and thrive. And so, don't take your commitment for granted. And I love Darlene's take on it. Celebrate it in words and in actions. In words and in actions. Certainly talk about your commitment, but also, show up and demonstrate how committed you are, and especially when times are tough. Now, when you are mad at your partner, that is the time where it's most important to demonstrate your commitment that you're not going anywhere, that, that you love them for who they are, and you're real mad at them right now. So, in your words and your actions, especially when times are tough. So, radical action. What can you do to reinforce your commitment? Here's one thing. Share with your partner how much you love them, what you appreciate about them, how lucky you feel to be with them, how you look forward to growing old together with them. Really pour it on. And authentically, anyway, gush all over them. Just shower them with appreciation and expressions of your commitment. And do this at least once a month. What a fantastic thing to do for each other is, once a month you take time out to really appreciate your partner, acknowledge your commitment to your partner and the relationship, and really gush, really pour it on. A lot of increasing positive energy in a relationship and in life is all about appreciation and what you're grateful for. And there are are spiritual practices of, everyday meditating on what you're grateful for. Well, this is like a couple meditation, but you are doing it with and for each other. Strategy number 7 of radical intimacy is positive response. And I got to say, this is probably my favorite. Positive response. What does that mean? It means you never say no. Instead, you respond with what you can say yes to. So you're always responding positively. And this is very cool because no one likes rejection. Nobody likes to hear the word no. It does promote emotional safety. If you know your partner is not going to say no to you or reject you, then you're going to feel safe with them. And it creates a positive atmosphere. You have a positive attitude in your relationship. You have a positive relationship. It is not necessary to say no, what you can't do and why you don't want to do it. All you got to do is turn it around and respond to what you can do. It's actually very easy, but it does take a presence of mind, and developing this habit is a very good relationship skill for any relationship, including parenting with your kids. You don't have to tell them no and what you can't do and why you can't do it. You can tell them what they can do, and on and on. So here is a radical action for you. This is a fun one. Make it a game to practice your positive response skills by taking turns asking for the most outrageous things and finding something that you're able to say yes to. So make it a game. Ask your partner for the most outrageous thing you can think of that you want or you might want, and then if you're the partner, try to find something that you can say yes to, and take turns doing that. It's fun, and it really help hone your positive response skills. And radical action number 2 for positive response is commit to each other your intention to never say no, and to support each other when you slip up, and you will slip up. If you don't already have this habit, if this isn't already who you are, and for most people it's not, it's something that you practice, it's something that you develop the habit, and you will slip up. And so if you slip up, try to catch yourself. If your partner slips up, then ask them, honey, what can you say yes to? Okay, you don't want to do that, but what do you want to do? And, really support each other. Commit to positive response. Commit to never saying no. And support each other to practice, saying yes and what you can say yes to. And, Darlene, I know that, you and I have gone around about this a few times because, I've sometimes brought it up as an issue when I would like to have a positive response from you. What do you think about this practice? Is it hard? Is it doable? Is it realistic? What's your take on it?
Yeah, it is doable. The times that I what you call slip up, to me, it doesn't feel like I'm saying no. So it does take practice because it's times that I don't feel like I'm saying no, and that's how you're receiving it. And if you're receiving it that way, that is what it is. If you're receiving it as me saying no, then in reality, that's what I'm doing. I'm saying no to you. So it is hard, and it does take some practice.
Yeah, well,
and I'm a really positive person, so if I do this,
you are.
If I do this, then it is really a skill that you have to develop.
Yeah. Well, I think what happens with you is you'll explain why something doesn't work for you, and you're not really saying no. You're not intending to say no, But explaining why something doesn't work for you or explaining why you don't want to do something, that feels like, and it is, saying no. So to say the positive response would be to simply get right to what part of this can you say yes to, rather than explaining, why you can't do it. So we're working on this one. We're not all the way there yet, and I think this is true for all of radical marriage and radical intimacy as well. It's not necessarily easy, and you never arrive. You're always working on it, and that's part of what makes a couple relationship life's greatest adventure. Is there is no absolute destination. You're never there. You're always working on it, and here's an example of what we continue to work on. So, radical intimacy strategy number 9, self-management. Managing yourself means that you take responsibility for your judgments, for what's going on inside you, your reactivity, your feelings. You practice non-judgment. And practicing non-judgment is not the same as having no judgments. We all have judgments. These just pop up for us automatically. It's impossible not to make judgments or have judgments. But by practicing non-judgments, we are choosing to reserve our judgment and be non-judgmental with our partner. We are choosing non-judgment, and we're practicing that. And I use the word practice very, very intentionally here because, we have to constantly practice. Our judgments are not going to go away, and being non-judgmental requires constant practice. So taking ownership of our experience. So what is your experience? Your experience is everything that happens inside you. It's the thoughts that pop up in your head. It's the feelings, your emotions that you just have. You just have them, you don't choose them. They're the physical body sensations that you have. They're the judgments that you form. These are involuntary. And you need to take ownership of them because nobody is making you feel this way. Nobody is making you have this thought. You need to take responsibility for them, and then when you do, you can make conscious choices. You can consciously choose your reaction to your thoughts, your feelings, and your judgments. So you have your experience that happens automatically, involuntarily, and then you can choose what you're going to do with that. And it is part of being a mature adult, and it's part of having a successful relationship. So, we talked earlier about, you don't blame your partner for feeling a certain thing or having a certain thought or having a certain need. You take responsibility for that, and you communicate with them. You connect with them to get your needs met, and you consciously choose your reaction. That's what makes a successful relationship. That's just a very, very necessary relationship skill in general, and the stakes are much higher in radical marriage. So, how can you do this? What would be helpful to do this? We have a strategy for you. The radical action is practice ownership by prefacing your statements by labeling what they are. I judge, I want, I need, in my opinion. So, if there's a scenario, let's say one of the scenarios in the book is, the husband leaving his socks on the floor. And so if you're going to take responsibility for your judgments, then you would say, I judge that you are sloppy if you leave your socks on the floor and you don't pick them up. That's a judgment. It's okay to have the judgment. It's even okay to express the judgment, but just take ownership for the judgment, and it's easier to do that if you actually label it that I have a judgment about that. I judge. Or I want. Or I need. Now, there are differences between wants and needs, and so to be clear to your partner, wouldn't it be great for you to say, I want, when something is a desire and is something that it would be okay if it wasn't met right now, and you would say, I need, if it's something that is really important to you and you need a positive response to and you really need something to happen about it. And you're taking responsibility for labeling it accurately so your partner doesn't have to read your mind. And in my opinion, this is a biggie because everything that's not a fact is an opinion, right? So, you might look at the sky and the sky is blue. Yes, the sky is blue. That's a fact. The sky is pretty. That's an opinion. It's pretty hard to argue with. The blue sky might look pretty, but it is an opinion. So there's many, many things that we might experience and we might say, we might believe in that are opinions, and we need to take responsibility for all of them, and that's part of self-management. And a relationship becomes far more successful and easier and smoother if both people are taking responsibility for their judgments and opinions and their thoughts and their feelings and their experience. So that's part of radical intimacy is self-management. Strategy number 10 out of our 10 strategies for radical intimacy is push your upper limit. Push your upper limit. Now, what does that mean? We have an upper limit. When you think about it, most of us are familiar with the pain threshold. We are familiar with that level below which it becomes too uncomfortable or too painful. Well, we also have an upper limit. And that upper limit, when we start getting close to it, we start getting uncomfortable, and we need to bring it down to be more comfortable. And it's too exciting, or it brings on discomfort, even though it's a good thing. And so when you think about your comfort level, your comfort zone is between your lower limit and your upper limit. And human nature is to stay within your comfort zone. And as we mentioned, if you stay within your comfort zone, you will be comfortable, but you will not be happy. You will not be fulfilled. You will not experience the success in life and the relationship that you really want, because success requires getting outside your comfort zone and pushing the envelope a little bit and taking a risk and stretching. And so the upper limit especially is crucial to radical intimacy, because intimacy gets scary. And when you start experiencing that fear and that, it's too close, I don't know if I can say this secret, this secret desire that I've never shared with anybody, then you start backing off from it because it's scary, so that you can stay safe. That's the time to take a risk and push your upper limit. Pushing your upper limit means dreaming beyond what you think is realistic. Now, I have, as a coach, what we do as coaches is we help our clients identify their dreams and achieve them. It's pretty much that simple. And the biggest problem is not that you can't achieve your dreams or that there's obstacles to achieving your dreams. The biggest problem is that people do not give themselves permission to want what they really want because they think it's not realistic or it's not really going to happen. So they only allow themselves to dream what they think is realistic. And that is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Of course they're not going to go after and get what they really want because they're not allowing themselves to go there. So dream beyond what you think is realistic. Go for it. Continually allow yourself to experience intimacy, happiness, and fulfillment. Continually. That means, every day, all day. And this is not something you do every once in a while. Allow yourself. Now, too often we don't allow ourselves because we have kids and we have to be responsible for them, or we have work and we have responsibilities, or we have a partner and we feel responsible for their happiness and taking care of them. So, we tend to give to others, we tend to take care of business in our life, we tend to put everything ahead of ourselves. What we need to do is, certainly we can take care of our kids and our partner and take care of work and the business of life, but we need to also allow ourselves to experience happiness and intimacy and fulfillment. It is something we need to allow ourselves to do. It's not something you say, well, I don't have the time, or I'll do it later, or I'll do it on the weekend. Allow yourself to experience intimacy, happiness, and fulfillment every day. Notice that you are holding yourself back from living the life you really want, from having the relationship you really want, from the happiness and fulfillment you really want. You are holding yourself back. Notice that. And the good news is, if you're holding yourself back, you can change that and go for it. You can choose to go for it. You can allow yourself to experience intimacy, happiness, and fulfillment. Now, for some people, this might sound ridiculous. Well, what do you mean? Of course I allow myself to experience happiness. Well, I experienced a lot of unhappiness in my childhood. I came from a very, very unhappy childhood and home and family. And it took a lot of years and a lot of practice and work on my part simply to allow myself to be happy. And I'm sure if you're listening to this, you can probably relate to it on some level. And we carry this with us, our limits, our upper limit, we carry this with us every day. So part of pushing our upper limit is to allow ourselves to experience happiness and fulfillment and intimacy continually, because we will hold ourselves back. Our default often will go to our comfort zone. So pushing our upper limit. And we mentioned this concept before of going where your energy wants to go. You have a desire, you have a dream, you have a goal, you have a want, you have a fantasy. Allow yourself to go where your energy wants to go. When you don't, you are blocking yourself. When you block your energy, what happens? It's going to leak out someplace. It's got to go someplace. And either it just, explodes in depression or anxiety or anger, or it goes into addictions, or it goes into overeating. There's many negative consequences of blocking your energy. And success and fulfillment happens when you go where your energy wants to go. And that's part of pushing your upper limit. And lastly, there are many, many reasons for no. There are always reasons for no. There's not enough time. It's not the right time. We don't have enough money. On and on and on. There's many reasons for no. There's usually only one reason for yes. One. Which is because you want to. Which is because it's important to you. Which is because it's your desire or it's your dream. There's usually only one reason for yes. So it's not like that there needs to be this vote. Okay, I'm going to make all the reasons not to and all the reasons to. That's not necessary at all. And when you do that, there's usually going to be many more reasons not to. But the one reason why it's important to do that wins out over all those reasons not to. Whatever your dream is, if it's to start your own business, if it's to live on a boat, if it's to hike the Adirondacks from start to finish, if it's to vacation in Italy, whatever your dream is, there's many reasons for no. There's many reasons not to do it. There's only one reason to do it. And pushing our upper limit means that we're going to do it anyway. We're going to find ways to do it. We're going to make it happen, even though there's all these reasons not to, because we only have one life and one relationship and one chance at happiness, fulfillment, and success. And that chance is always now, because you only have now, right? You only have the present. So you're either going for it or you're not. And that's part of pushing your upper limit. So, strategies, radical actions for how you can push your upper limit. First is continually ask yourself, what do I really want? And I love this question because, for me, I'm a pleaser. I'm a self-denier. It is hard for me to be in touch with, what I want. I'm usually much more interested in what you want, and I want to make you happy. So for me to get in touch with what I want, I usually have to dig a little deeper and ask myself, what do I really want? And so it's a much more meaningful question to me, and the concept applies to everyone. Dig deep and get in touch with what you really want, not just what's on the surface, not just what pops into your head first. What do you really want? And radical action number 2, a strategy you can try, is when you ask your partner what they want, don't accept "I don't know" for an answer. This happens too often, and too often it is hard for us to get in touch with what we want, so we say, "I don't know." And you ask your partner what they want, and they say, "I don't know," and we don't know what to do with that. So we accept it. Oh, okay, you don't know. Well, don't settle for that. Don't allow "I don't know" to be an answer. So what do you do instead? When your partner asks what you want, don't respond with whatever you want. Return to radical action number 1, which is, what do you really want? If your partner says, "I don't know," don't accept that. Say, "Honey, just take a moment, think about it. What do you want? What do you really want? What will make you happy right now?" Darlene and I go back and forth about, going out to dinner or a restaurant. When we go out to dinner or a restaurant, often Darlene is aware that she wants to go out, but she's not clear about where or what kind of food.
Well, that's because whenever we go out, the reason we go out is because I'm exhausted, and so I have no energy to try and pick.
Yeah. So sometimes we'll take a shortcut and say, "Okay, well, I'll just choose a place." Other times, I won't accept that as an answer. I'll say, "I chose the last time. You want to go out. What will make you happy right now?" Really, dig deep and think about it. What do you really want? And it takes a little bit of effort, but it's important because, if it's not top of mind and then you ignore it, there's something underneath that you have. Your desires are not always top of mind. It's the ones underneath are the ones that are going to make you happy and fulfilled. And if you don't dig deep to discover them and to meet them, then you're not going to experience happiness and fulfillment. And in a successful relationship, in a radical marriage, we support each other to dig deep and get in touch with our desires and our wants. So 2 things here. When you ask your partner what they want and they say, "I don't know," don't accept that for an answer. Support them to identify. Dig deep to what they really want. And when your partner asks you want, don't respond with, "Whatever you want, dear." You dig deep and ask yourself, "Okay, well, what do I really want? What would make me happy?" It takes a little bit of effort sometimes. It seems almost humorous that something that a want or a need or a desire would actually take effort to identify. But this is the human experience. So that's everything we got for you today. 10 strategies for radical intimacy, and you don't have to remember them all. We've covered a lot today. You can download the recording. Many of these are in the book, but there's some new ones that are not in the book. You can review the recording and make notes if you like. In a workshop or retreat, we would actually take time to do these as exercises. But this is a webinar. We don't have time to, take a break and do the exercises. So go off and do these exercises on your own with your partner as part of, you creating your radical marriage. And so give it a try. 10 strategies: creating safety for yourself, creating safety for your partner, continually taking risk, creating rituals in your relationship, the ones that happen automatically, sure, but also consciously co-create rituals for connection and sex and spirituality, and text messaging each other and telling your whole truth, not just what first occurs to you, but, dig deeper and reinforce your commitment to each other. Really celebrate that. And positive response. Never say no. You don't need to say no. Simply respond with, what you can do and how you can do it and what you're willing to say yes to. And that really increases the positive energy in your relationship. And self-management, taking responsibility for your thoughts and your feelings and your wants and your needs and your reactivity and everything going on inside you. And pushing your upper limit. Those are 10 strategies for achieving radical intimacy in your radical marriage. And Darlene and I both wish and want to support you to make your life together your greatest adventure. So that's everything we got. Thanks for joining us, and thank you for reading through the Radical Marriage book. If you have any questions or any feedback about radical marriage, please do drop us a line at feedback@radicalmarriage.com. So thanks for joining us, and we hope to hear from you soon. So bye for now.
Bye-bye.